Okay, so now let's take a look at approvals in Accounts Payable. So I'm going to go to my Accounts Payable module, Setup tab, and I'm going to click into Configuration. I'm going to scroll down here towards the bottom, and the options that I have for approvals in Accounts Payable is to do bill approval, vendor approval, or payment approval. So let's start with vendor approval. In order to turn this on, you literally just have to check it off, proceed, and then you have to make sure that you've assigned the correct permission to whichever users you want to do vendor approvals. And then you can hit email notifications, which will send a notification to the approver to let them know that there is a new vendor put in the system that they'll have to come in and approve. So if I go to my other tab here and go to the company module, admin, go into roles, I'm just going to show you in subscriptions where that permission is. So I'm going to go to the admin subscriptions, but obviously you will be assigning this to whichever role is assigned to the user that you want to be the approver, or you can set up a specific role that is for vendor approval. So it's going to be within the Accounts Payable module. So I'm going to click on the permissions over here, and then it's this approve vendors. You want to give them this list permission. And then if you've assigned that to a user and they get the notification, they would come into the system in Accounts Payable under the All tab. There's this approve vendors option that they would click on, and they're going to go into that and they're either going to approve or decline the vendor. So bills can be put against a vendor that is not approved in the system, but you will not be able to put any payments against a vendor that is not approved. So it's a good security measure to put in place. So that's setting up your vendor approval. And then bill approval, if you want to turn that on, you'd enable it here. You can send out notifications so that the approvers get an email to tell them when there's something in the system for them to approve. And then in your approval policies here, we'll click manage and we'll see the different policies that you can put in place. So you can do a vendor-based approval. And if you have that set up, then if you go into your vendors, so if I go to AP on my other tab and go into vendors and edit on one of them, on my additional information tab, there is an option now to select my bill approver. So you can do it as vendor based. So you can have a specific approver for each vendor if that's something that you need. You can also do it by user level. So you can just have one specific user that all of the approvals go to. So in user level, you would select that, and then it gives you the option to drop that down and choose which user is the approver. You can do value approval. And then if you do value approval, you have to create a rule for that. So I have one in the system here that says any of my bills from 0 to 5,000 are going to be approved by someone with level 1 permissions, but anything that's between 5,000 and 500,000, I want them to have at least level 2 permissions. And then anything over 500,000, they must have level 3 permission, and I actually want 2 approvers with level 3 permission to approve any bills that are over 500,000. And then these levels are permissions that get assigned in your roles. So if I go back to my other tab, click into company admin roles, and then go back into my subscriptions for my admin role, it's within, once again, the Accounts Payable module. I'm going to hit permissions here, and I can see my AP bill approval levels. So you can give specific levels to, roles, and then assign those roles to your users. So these levels are going to determine who are the approvers. So that's for your value-based approval. And then the other option you have is to do it by department. So you can do it by transaction department, and then it's going to be the manager of that department that will be the approver. So if I go to my other tab here, go to company, setup, and click into my departments. So let's say for my construction operations, if I edit on that, I'll see that my manager here is Dennis Sanford. So any bills that are tagged to that department will be approved by this manager, Dennis Sanford. So there are the options for your bill approval. I'm going to cancel out of that. And then you also have the ability to do unrestricted. So someone who can override anything, they can come in and they can view all of the approvals. They can approve or decline regardless of the policies that are in place. So you could have, that would want to be like, your admin type, unrestricted. And then payment approval. So you can enable AP payment approval. This, once again, is based on levels, which are assigned in your permissions that are given to roles, and then those roles are given to users. So, you can say level 1 for anything up to 500. You can say level 2 is anything up to 50,000, and then level 3 is anything up to 500,000, and then anything above, I didn't put in enough zeros there, 500,000, and then anything above that requires at least 2 approvers. And then you can ignore manual payment approval limits. So if your company has already a pretty strict process on people who can do manual payments, then you can ignore approval processes for that, because the people that are doing manual payments or have the ability to do manual payments don't necessarily need to be approved. And then who are the payment notifications coming from? So if you have enabled notifications for your payments to go out to your vendors, who does that come from? Does it come from the person who selected the bills for the payment, or does it always come from this specific person? So there are your approval processes that you can set up within the Accounts Payable module. And there are more robust options that you can do within purchasing for your approvals. So if Accounts Payable is not cutting it for you, then maybe purchasing will do it. If you choose to have a workflow in there and do all of your bills through purchasing, they're going to flow over to AP anyway. So you could put everything into purchasing, and then the purchasing approvals are covered in that workflow class. But then if you need some serious customization for your approvals, then a system like AP automation or Sage Paperless might be the way for you to go. So these are the options that you have in the system. And there are some additional options within purchasing, which we'll get to in that class. But if you have any additional questions on getting any of that set up, of course, you can join a Q&A or submit a ticket.